Hi everybody. As you may or may not know, URComped has been partnered with Mercy Ships for several years, and we've sent out postcards. So you may have heard a little something about Mercy Ships. This year, we've decided to step up our partnership with Mercy Ships, and because we have kind of lifted our game and come alongside even more significantly this year, we had the opportunity to interview somebody that's actually on the Mercy Ship. So what you're about to watch is just a really powerful interview with Laura, who has been working on the Mercy Ships for a couple years now. She's got some really incredible stories of transformation in the lives of people in Africa that Mercy Ships have been able to help. And she also talks about how our financial contributions help Mercy Ships further their mission. And so anyway, it's just a fascinating interview. I highly encourage you to watch and enjoy. Put in the comments what you think about it. And then there's also going to be a link somewhere with how, if you feel moved to contribute or even volunteer, those links will be in the description. So thank you so much. Enjoy the video. Thank you, Laura, for being here. So
Sure, thank you.
For those that are watching this that don't already know, what does Mercy Ships do?
So Mercy Ships is really, I would say, two major areas of emphasis. One of those major areas is we do provide surgical care to people who are not able to access care in their home area. And then the other big thing that we do at Mercy Ships is an education, training, and advocacy program. So not only are we providing surgeries while the ship is docked there in a country, but we're also spending time educating and training the local healthcare professionals that are there in that country. And the emphasis with that is that we want to make sure that we can help in the short term with the surgeries and providing those to the patients that come on board the ship. But long term, we're hoping that education and training of those individuals will keep that expertise there in the country. So when the ship leaves, we still have those individuals there that can help provide the surgeries that we've been able to do while we were there, and also provide some of the excellent healthcare that we're able to do as well. So that's really the two big areas that we emphasize.
Wow, I mean that's amazing that y'all are doing all that, and that seems like a lot. I mean, but so what specifically do you do with Mercy Ships? What's your specialty?
So my job title is the Senior Medical Laboratory Technologist. So essentially I lead the laboratory team on board. So each one of the ships that we have has a hospital laboratory that focuses on providing testing for our patients, most importantly, and then also our crew members that come and serve on board as well. So I lead a team of 4 on one of the ships, and then there's another senior lab tech on the other ship who is just getting off the ground at the moment, but that's where my expertise focuses.
Nice. And so which ports have you worked at with Mercy Ships?
So I started my time in Senegal. So I was in the port of Dakar for all of 2022, which was really exciting when we were just coming back after COVID. It was thrilling to be there during that time and pick up where we left off back in 2020. It was when the ship left. So I really enjoyed that. And then from there, I have been in a maintenance period in Tenerife, and then I have most recently been in Freetown, Sierra Leone, which one of our ships is currently at the moment in field service. And as of right now, I'm down in Durban in South Africa, and one of the shipyards for our other ship as well. So it's been a good opportunity to see a little bit of West Africa, and it's exciting to be down here in South Africa now.
Oh, wonderful. Well, they've got a big rugby match coming on.
They do. It is very exciting. And even this past weekend, when it was England versus South Africa, that was a big deal here on the ship. So we have quite a few of our volunteers are from the UK. So it's just one of the really good aspects of community to get involved with the local countries where we are and really get pulled into the atmosphere and environment, which is always fun.
So I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, but maybe we can go into what specific types of surgeries are performed on Mercy Ships.
So yeah, absolutely. So we have surgeries that are performed in the area of maxillofacial. That's really one of our, I would probably say one of our biggest areas that we have surgeries on. In Sierra Leone, we're currently offering those surgeries. The entire field service we're there. We also do surgeries in the area of general surgery, in pediatric orthopedics, and reconstructive plastics, and eye surgeries as well. Those are the big areas we're focusing on right now in Sierra Leone. We also can do surgeries in the area of women's health. One of the things that Mercy Ships does is we try and tailor our areas of expertise, in which we have the surgeons that can provide surgeries in certain areas with what the needs of the country are. So whenever the original conversations were set up in Sierra Leone, those were the key areas that best met the needs of the country with our areas of expertise. So we're not currently offering our women's health surgeries at the moment, but it is something that we are able to do in the future should the need arise in one of the countries that we're going to.
Now I know why URComped got involved with Mercy Ships. It's just like just seeing what y'all are doing. It was just so impactful. I tear up even thinking about it. And then we wanted to find kind of a ministry, a charity to come alongside with URComped that's kind of tied to our business. We do a lot with cruise ships. So when we saw what Mercy Ships was doing, it was like, all right, we got to partner with them. But tell me about you. What was your story? Why did you decide to volunteer with Mercy Ships?
So, funny thing is, I most of my background is in the area of education. So I've worked for almost a decade now with training lab techs to work in hospital laboratories. And one of my former students went and came here to Mercy Ships, probably about, I think it was 2011. I think she was here, and she reported back to us as a graduate of our program what she was doing, and I thought that was the coolest thing. That's just amazing. But I in this day and age of working and a house, a mortgage, family, friends, I just didn't think it would ever be something that I could do. And I actually had the opportunity to take a little break from teaching, and I thought I would just come for a semester to experience what it was like on the ship, and use the skills that I have in order to help provide testing for these patients that we serve. And lo and behold, I'm still here almost 2 years later. So I feel like that happens sometimes with Mercy Ships, especially if you make the leap of faith to come, and you get here and you just live in the environment that we do, and we see the patients that we serve, and there's just nothing else like it. And so I feel very blessed at this point in my life that I can spend this time here. And so yeah, so I ended up here from a former student, and then just the timing worked out, and it's just once I got here, it's hard to walk away from what we're doing, and it's really amazing. So.
I can imagine. I can imagine those 2 years you've seen a lot of incredible transformation stories. Do you have any in particular that jump out at you?
I think I would probably say two. One of them was on the Africa Mercy, which is the ship that I'm on at the moment. We were back in Senegal last year, and it was probably about the middle of the field service. And we had a young boy come in with a maxillary tumor. So this is a tumor. I'm sure it won't get recorded with my hands, but a tumor essentially on the side of his face that was quite massive. And he was probably around the age of 7 or 8, and the tumor was so big and around his mouth area that it affected his nutrition. And to see the laboratory values that came from his laboratory test, and to it was just unbelievable that he was standing up and walking onto the ship. I mean, that's how sick that the values showed that he was, and only because he had this tumor in which he couldn't eat properly. And it come to find out, and hearing more stories about his family, he had come on board the ship with his dad, and the two of them were from a part of Senegal that was probably about a 10-hour drive from where we were at the port. And his dad had taken his son to many different hospital facilities along that 10-hour drive, or that 10-hour route, going back and forth, and nobody was willing to help. And so to hear about the perseverance of his father to get him to the ship, to get him on board, to get the laboratory test that he needed, and to get the surgery. It was absolutely amazing to hear about the love that he had for his child. So one of the first things we did actually was to give a blood transfusion prior to surgery just to get him healthy enough to undergo surgery. And so from that point forward, it was as soon as he got approved and was admitted to the hospital, it was all hands on deck just to make sure that the outcome was successful, and that this young boy could go home and lead a normal life without having this massive tumor on the side of his face. And to be able to eat properly, I mean, just the thought of not being able to eat fruits and vegetables to give you the proper nutrition because of a deformity that you have, it just was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that before. So to hear his story, and on the other side, once the tumor was removed and he was healing, just the amazement to be able to see his change, to be able to him to eat the things that a young boy can should eat, and then to see furthermore his father just sat by his bedside, just in awe. I mean, just so happy that he had finally gotten the help that he needed for his son. So just the combination of the young child, and then the love that his dad had for him, and that the fact that we were able to send them home um, in a much better condition than what they came to the ship with, both I'm sure spiritually, and physically and emotionally as well. It just there's nothing like it, and it's just the stories like that that I think back to, and that's again that's what's made it hard to leave. Um, and the second story that I think that comes to mind as well, was actually earlier on this year on the Global Mercy. We had a mother who was on the ship for surgery. Again, a pretty similar tumor type. Actually, it was a maxillary tumor, and she had young children at home. She was also pregnant as well, and it was really questionable as to if surgery would be beneficial. And a choice was made by the team on board that yes, we could do this, and it would really impact her quality of life and hopefully allow her to live long enough to have the baby, and have a successful life past that. And the surgery itself, I think from a professional standpoint, she actually received 8 units of blood. So I was the one that was having to obtain those units and get them to the OR during that time period. And it was really, I think for me, a trying situation in which it really required the skill set and the skills that God has given me to use, to help in this particular case. Lo and behold, she had her tumor removed. She recovered from her surgery, and I just got notified, I think back in August, that she had had her baby. So it was, again, a really, really good outcome that I'm so glad that we were able to assist with. And then I think, we're just in their lives for a very short moment, but I feel like to think about the impact that that has on them for months and years to come is pretty amazing. So I think those two things really stick out the most to me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, just every aspect of the person's life, not just like you mentioned, like getting the nutrition, but then just, walking through life with that, like a tumor, like everywhere, I can only imagine how self-conscious someone like that would be. And so you're not only helping them be nourished for the rest of their lives, but they can go out with confidence. And yeah, that's just so powerful. Now, let me ask you, this is just something I was curious about as you're talking about it. So the father drove the son out 10 hours to get there. Is this like before mercy shifts arrive? Is there like how does somebody 10 hours away, I assume in a remote village, find out that there's this life-changing opportunity with mercy ships?
Right. So we actually, so before the ship even arrives in port, we have a team on the ground and country. So that team usually can come in 4 to 6 months in advance, and meets with some of the local healthcare professionals throughout the country, to identify patients who would be good candidates for surgery on the ship. So more than likely, I'm not quite sure how it happened in this particular situation with the father and son, but more than likely, There was a screening clinic that was set up out a little bit closer to the individual's home, that was run by crew that are associated with Mercy Ships that were able to do the initial screening to say, yes, this is a tumor that we think we can help you with. We specialize in this area of surgery. We invite you to come to the ship on X date so we can do some additional testing, and some x-ray scans and so forth to make sure that you're a good candidate for surgery. So even though the ship's there for the 10 months, the work starts way beyond that before we even arrive to the country, as well. So that it's really interesting, that team, what they're able to do, and that's really the patient's first interaction with Mercy Ships is those individuals.
Now, you touched on earlier, right now you are in South Africa.
Correct. Yeah.
So, do you usually spend a lot of time exploring the city where y'all are ported, or yeah, and how often do you actually get to leave the ship?
So, at the moment here in Durban, it's a little bit more flexible in the sense that, honestly, if we're in field service and I'm working the lab, we have on call. So at certain points, I have to stay on ship in order to be there if there's a situation that arises. But we are encouraged to get off and explore, to see the area, interact with the people, as well, and the local areas in which we're serving. I've loved that part whenever we are in West Africa, especially, to get to go out into these communities, that we're in and eat their food, take their recommendations from our local national crew that work on board the ship with us, and go out to a restaurant with them or to go visit their family. So it's a really good opportunity, and I think as much as we can, given the work. I mean, we are there to work as well, but that is definitely an enjoyable perk of being in these countries, is to truly experience the culture, and the environments in which we're in.
Now, so as we've been talking, and we see some foot traffic going around behind you, and it's not all people in scrubs, and so
Correct.
yeah, so it's not just nurses and doctors on board. Like, tell us what it's like on board.
So essentially, it's a community on board. It really is. It's interesting. Yes, we have our hospital team. Right now, the very heavy involvement we have on board is our technical team. So these are our maritime crew, who work on ships, and they help keep our vessel safe, and functional. And then we also, from there, it just expands for the people that take care of our the people on board with our hospitality team. We have housekeeping on board as well. We have a dining room team that cooks us some very fantastic meals, that can help us feel at home as much as possible in this foreign environment. We also have an academy on board, so our long-term crew, they are able to bring their kids as they're able to serve in this community too, and so they can send their kids to school on board. So I've got some really good friends that are school teachers in the academy, as well. We have, of course, our management team. We have a crew bank on board. So we have a crew banker that helps us, in terms of our finances, in these countries. And so it really is like, a community of wide variety, in that we're here. So hospital is just one small part of that community. And so it really is good to meet these people from across all of these different entities, and areas of expertise.
So there may be some doctors or nurses or other professionals that are watching this that are just, they feel a little pull in their heart. I mean, what would you say to doctors who are thinking about maybe volunteering with Mercy Ships?
I would say you won't regret it. I think, it definitely takes a leap of faith to walk away sometimes from, a good salary, or, home, a comfortable environment, to come and do this. But we're able, I feel like I can speak from the laboratory component, and this does, I feel like, also radiates out to the other areas of medicine, is that we're able to truly use our skills. We are patient focused. So, what our patients need, we can be there with them at the bedside. I've seen surgeons come in, have multiple conversations, be that reassuring person that these patients need to have when they're in this foreign environment, and really being extremely vulnerable in these situations that they're in. And the surgeons will sit there with them as long as they need in order to explain the surgery, assure them, assure their family. Like I mentioned before, with the patient, with the dad that was right there getting that explanation and that comfort as well, which I think sometimes gets missed in our Western world, in which you're in the land of insurances and bills and money. And it just breaks it all down to the true essence of medicine, and that is the patient, and using the skills that we have to help serve the patients in the best way possible. And to bring it all back to that after a career of, being in a world of money and prestige and accolades and so forth, to bring it all back to, honestly, the reason for a lot of us why we ended up in the field we went into, to bring it all back to the essence of that. There's nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are just so inspired after watching this interview. How can people keep up to date with what Mercy Ships is doing, where the Global Mercy is, like what's happening? What's the best way for them to stay in touch?
So I think one of the easiest things to do, we do have our mercyships.org website that keeps up to date with our latest job openings in terms of ways to serve, and whether that be through prayer or monetary support as well. That's all linked to on that webpage. What I absolutely love is the social media aspect. I mean, it's real life stories from our crew, our patients as well. You can see all the before and afters of our patients. There's the patient I was mentioning earlier that had that tumor. His before and after is posted with his permission and all the appropriate credits and so forth. But to see the actual evidence and pictures and a visual representation, it's pretty amazing. And so our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram, with our Instagram handle at Mercy Ships, it's the best way to keep up on what's happening on both ships with our patients and with our crew, and also hearing more about what's going on at the moment in the organization. So I would definitely highly recommend that you can follow along there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Laura. And if anybody's listening that has the skills that Laura has, or any other way that you can contribute, obviously you can volunteer and find out ways on the Mercy Ships website. But of course, like URComped, we're contributing how we can financially with every trip that we book. We donate some to Mercy Ships, and so we highly encourage you, if you can't make it out there, to come alongside Mercy Ships financially, because all these supplies, all these things. I mean, maybe you can, before we wrap up, just say like where some of these donations go. Like what do they what do you need on the ship that financial support helps with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, on the GLM, which is our Global Mercy, which is currently in Sierra Leone, we are undergoing, as I mentioned, we're in field service, so we're providing surgery. So, money will go towards helping out with the supplies that we need to provide those surgeries. Help sometimes with the volunteer expenses. For example, if there's support needed to bring a certain level of expertise and a volunteer to the ship, that can help out as like a stipend in that particular area. Here on the Africa Mercy here in Shipyard, we are completely I shouldn't say completely, but we are remodeling, doing some refurbishment of the hospital and of the ship as a whole, so that we can go to our next destination of Madagascar. So at the moment, we are getting some new areas redone, just so that they can last us, a good decent amount of time in the future, so that we can keep supporting our crew that come and serve on board, keep this community, as comfortable as we can, given the environment that we're in, and then ultimately, of course, serve our patients. So we have some new hospital equipment that has gotten installed during the shipyard, new flooring that has gotten installed, new beds for all of our patients that will get first used in Madagascar here in just a couple of months. So all of that money gets put towards the vessels and the supplies that we need, and can also help support bringing the crew to the ship and during their time here on board as well.
Well, Laura, thank you so much. I know you got a million things to do out there, and I really appreciate you carving out some time to talk about the amazing things that you're doing and the whole crew and everybody involved in Mercy Ships. And so, yeah, again, thank you for the time. Thank you for everybody at URComped that has come alongside us to contribute to Mercy Ships, and we're looking forward to continuing to do so many years into the future. So thank you, Laura.
And I want to say thank you as well, Craig, because we couldn't do this without partners and people that support us along the way. We're one person here on the ship, but we cannot do this alone. So we certainly appreciate your support during this time. Thank you for taking the time out to learn a little bit more and share that with your audience as well with what we do.
We'll put a link on how you can contribute in the description. So look for that. And Laura, hopefully we can talk again in the future. So thank you so much and good luck in Madagascar.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.